Hey everyone, my name is Jenna Hostetler, and welcome back to another day of chatting about our incredible gut. Today we're joined by Alexa Hanshaw, who is a health and stress management coach. Alexa, thank you for being here today. I'm very interested to chat with you.
Yeah, Jenna, no, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here, excited to chat all about stress management, how, it relates to gut health and really supporting everyone that's listening.
Okay, so when I think of stress and telling people to be less stressed, I feel like it's one of those things where everyone's like, yeah, I know I should, but until it's like a huge problem, I mean, nobody really cares or wants to address it. So, at least in my opinion. So,
Yeah.
what are the less obvious signs that someone might be dealing with stress in their body?
Yeah, that's really a great question. Some less obvious signs that you might not recognize as stress related. It can really be talk about headaches, talk about even eye strain, talk about your digestion not being regular. And that can be on either side. That can either be constipation or that can be diarrhea. Um, you know, and moodiness is another one that can really be affected by stress and, taking out your stress on a loved one or a friend and not even realizing it. So some of those things people don't typically um, correlate directly with stress, but they're one of the earlier signs of what I like to call chronic stress or what is called chronic stress. Um, so yeah.
Okay, so since you mentioned it, where's the fine line? Where's the difference between that acute stress that everybody has and it's not a big deal and the chronic stress where it starts to be like a huge problem? Is it like if it's daily, if it's weekly, like is there an amount of stress that's okay?
Yes, that is a absolutely a great question. So, stress, not all stress is created equal. I'll start off by saying that there are different types of stress. There is eustress and distress. And, eustress, if you look at it as and this can be a type of acute stress. This is that almost that good type of stress. So maybe you have a big presentation and you're a little nervous. You get the butterflies in your stomach. Heartbeat might start to increase a little bit, but it pushes you towards motivation or it pushes you towards productivity or it pushes you towards doing your best. So that type of stress is not necessarily a bad thing. It's actually getting us to be a better version of ourselves. The difference or the issue with chronic stress is when people don't finish the stress cycle. And with a stress cycle, you have a trigger. So something triggers you or triggers stress, then you have the stress response in your body. So the stress response in your body can look like your heart rate increasing. It is, your blood pressure might increase a little bit. Your blood starts to rush to your extremities. So you're really ready for that fight or flight type of reaction. And that's really your body's stress response. And then the part that most people miss, especially people getting into chronic stress, is the rest or is the reset part of the stress cycle. So when you get into chronic stress, unfortunately, there's not if you're stressed chronically for 3 months, then you're in the chronic stress phase and you need to be worried about it. It is going to be different for every single person. What one person might be able to handle stress for 6 months, a different person, it might take 2 weeks. And then the chronic stress can really start to wreak havoc on their body. So it really depends on the person. But the key is when you continuously get triggered, you have the stress response and then go back to another trigger and then stress response, trigger, stress response, etc. Then you're not giving your body the time to reset and you're not giving your body the time to be able to improve your immune system again. It's not being able to focus on your digestion again when you're in that constant fight or flight mode. Did I answer your question? I know I kind of
Yeah, no, that was really good.
around a
So
few things,
so
but
it's almost like you're bouncing like continuously from one stressor to the next. it's the crazy morning, get up, the kids ready routine. Then you go to work and you're stressed, and you come home and there's stuff to do, and then you got to worry about dinner, and it's like it's a never ending constant bounce from one stress to the next versus it's all good. I have this thing to work on. I'm going to worry about it and stress on it and get it done and then go back to normal.
Mm-hmm. And then be able to kind of get your body, get your nervous system from the sympathetic nervous system, so the fight or flight, into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest. So giving it that opportunity, like I said, to reset and prepare for the next trigger versus the constant, pings of trigger response, trigger response, trigger response. Then your body starts to move to a new normal. And that's when the chronic stress becomes an issue, when the new normal is your stress response. And that's when you see the elevated heart rate, the elevated blood pressure, you're constantly getting sick, little colds, you start to get the flu, because your immune system is compromised.
Is it possible? This just came to me.
Mm-hmm.
To have stress. Okay, so obviously, like if you break your leg, there's inflammation and stress and stuff going on physically.
Mm-hmm.
Does that ever happen on a daily basis, like a physical version that's not necessarily so mental that maybe somebody might not realize is going on? Like, are there physical stressors that we can be doing to our body?
That's a great question.
All I can think of maybe is like super sleep deprived.
Yes, that is the direction. I was gonna go in two different directions. So constantly, like you said, being sleep deprived. And again, that goes to, you're not letting your body really reset from the day. You're not giving it the ability to repair itself from the previous day. So it's constantly going to be in that high stress period. The other one that I was thinking of is over-exercise, and people who are constantly doing high intensity interval training or constantly running, like putting a constant pressure on their body, can also heighten the stress response. Now, is it some bodies can handle that? Some people kind of prepare for that. You think about elite athletes, they're obviously constantly working out and focusing on that. But if I'm thinking about a non-elite athlete and you are constantly doing high intensity interval training, you're also stressing your muscles, your bones, your tendons, and not giving them the chance to repair themselves. So again, that could cause issues in the long run. And that typically looks like injuries, and long-term sustained injuries.
Right. So, a lot of people deal with stress with food and drinking, whether it's pop, whether it's soda, whether it's a glass of wine at the end of the day. So, what have you found? Have you found any really good ways to help people get out of that stress eating cycle?
Yes, stress eating is a major focus with many, many of my clients. And, it's definitely not a do this and you're fixed type of situation. It's definitely something that we work on for several sessions together, and several cycles of kind of goals and habit changing. But if you look at it, the key that I usually start with around stress eating is awareness, having the person, yes, be like, yes, I know I stress eat, but also recognizing, how do we get them to recognize in the moment that they're stress eating? So there's a couple ways that I've worked with my clients. There's a hunger scale that I like to use that's been really beneficial with some of my clients, and recognizing before they eat a snack or something that's not just before they eat something, thinking about the hunger scale and how hungry are they actually, and where, like, really tapping into their not intuition, but how they're feeling around their hunger. And then from there, once they start to recognize the different levels of, okay, I'm really full, or okay, I'm actually really quite hungry, then you can start to put some goals around what they're eating, when they're eating, how they're eating, in a way that supports not always grabbing something sweet when they're stressful, or not always gravitating towards a comfort meal when they've had a really long day, or grabbing for that glass of wine. It's really mostly a mindset shift, and getting them to connect their action with the perceived reward from it. And how can we break that cycle?
I like that you said perceived reward. Because, in that moment, it's like, this is going to make me feel better. But afterwards, you don't feel any better. It didn't actually do anything.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And a lot of times it comes with guilt too. So it makes you feel even worse. So how do we remove that guilty feeling? Because, we don't want anyone to feel deprived by any means, but making the connection to eating because you're hungry and because you're going to enjoy something, versus because you're bored, sad, angry, stressed.
Yeah, exactly. So if somebody has like a super fast-paced life, a high-stress job, you know, there's definitely phases of life that I feel like everybody goes to where it's just nonstop. The next 3 months are going to be crazy.
Mhm.
How do you cope with that?
Yeah. So, I definitely, a lot of my clients happen to be in these stages of their life when they come to me. So it's really important to look at time management and really understanding where your time is going. I like to do a time study with my clients. And yes, it does take a little bit of extra time for them to look at where they're spending their time. But in the long run, it helps them see, okay, I actually have a little bit more time than I thought, because I'm wasting, you know, 30 minutes here on Instagram, or I'm watching 3 shows when I really only need to be watching one show at this point. Or, just where can they find pockets of time, but then also really prioritizing what's important to them right now. So maybe getting to the gym for an hour is just not going to fit into their schedule at this point in their life. That's okay. How can you still get in movement that's going to make you feel good and is going to be good for your body? So, how can you get in 10 minutes here or 5 minutes there? And also, helping them see that there's always ways that you can fit your wellness into your schedule, and whether that's eating healthy, and what's little things you can do that make it easier on yourself, like using a pressure cooker or an Instapot. Or how can you tap into and be more mindful for even 5 minutes a day, and see how that can shift your focus and shift your perspective and make you be able to optimize your time a little bit better when you're not trying to do 20 things at once. You take 5 minutes, you recenter, you focus, whether that's on your breath or just, a quick meditation, and then be able to be like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is my highest priority, and then move on to the next thing. So there are definitely several pieces that I work with my clients on, between time management, ensuring that they get what's their highest priority, whether that's, cooking healthy meals, or whether that's getting movement in. How can we fit that into their schedule to then better optimize their time in their day?
Nice. What I'm curious if you've seen any personalities that are more prone to being a high stress type of person. Like, have you? Because I feel like there's some people that just like they thrive in a stressful environment.
Hmm.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, so I think there's a you can perceive people thriving, or people even perceive themselves as thriving in stressful situations, or in, I'm better when I'm busy, or I do better when I'm busy and don't have time to think or don't have time to rest, which, if they look at their work or if they look at their life, they may, in theory, be doing more, but how, if they're not giving themselves time to stop or think, then they're also not able to tap into how that's actually affecting their body or affecting their mindset as well. So it's a tough question, because you definitely have your type A personalities that are kind of very organized, and it seems like they can handle more stress in a better way. But I would be interested to see, from a research perspective, how, like, internally that's actually affecting them. Are they actually thriving? Or from the outside, does it look like they're thriving because they're successful and they're checking things off their list and they're doing everything that they need to do? But how is it affecting their health in the long run? So I don't have any research studies to back that up, but I would be interested to see kind of what that looks like. So again, I don't know if that, I don't think it answers your question directly, but from a outward looking in, it would seem like type A personalities could handle stress better. Um, but I would be interested to see physiologically if that's the case versus just kind of outside, perspective.
Sure. Yeah, I was just curious if there was any like major commonalities. You're like, oh, this person has this job and does this thing, and they're going to come to me because they're super crazy stressed. I didn't know if you had seen anything like that, but you're probably right that a lot of
Yeah.
people can just act like they handle it a lot better. I'm sure there's
Mhm.
a ton of other things that also get internalized, which also adds to a ton of stress.
Yeah, and I think too, our society almost wears busyness like a badge versus um, seeing all sides of what busyness can bring. So I think there's also that piece of, people want to be perceived like they're busy and then be perceived like they're being successful with this busyness. So it's tough. From what I've seen with my clients, I work with a lot of women in corporate America, as well as female entrepreneurs. Those are kind of the two buckets that seem to gravitate towards me. And both of them tend to have a lot of, I'm going to have my to-do list. I want to be able to check things off my to-do list. I'm taking everything on myself. I don't really like to ask for help. That's definitely the personality type that tries to handle the stress, and then in the end up needing support, and kind of those tools in their toolbox for stress management, because they never really learned how to handle it. They're just pushing through.
Yeah, sure. So you do a lot of other stuff in your practice. You don't just work on stress. You do, a lot with exercise and a whole bunch of other, calming, relaxing things. So what, I don't know, what else like do you help your clients with that also then, has a side effect of less stress?
Yeah. So I love this question. And I think it's super important, because I do really take a holistic approach with my clients. And yes, stress always seems to be usually an after effect. They're usually coming to me because they want to lose 10 pounds, or they want to start an exercise routine, or they want to be more mindful and don't really know how to incorporate that. And so really being able to look at, I'm a group fitness instructor, so I have a background in fitness and supporting people in building a mobility and a movement routine. And I do have some background. I am not a nutritionist, but I do have some functional nutrition training around being able to support people with what does a healthy plate look like, and things like that. And so really getting this holistic view of what health can look like, is really where I and my clients can thrive together, because it's giving them support in several different areas across our journey, whether that's typically a program that I do with my clients is going to be around 6 months. And so across that arc, we can really focus on different areas of their health. And like you said, all of that in the end is going to lower their stress because they're focusing on their health. And when they can focus on their health, inherently their stress is slowly going to start to dissipate because they're moving their body more. So they're getting rid of some of the stress, or they're eating more nutrient rich foods, which when you fuel better, then your body's inflammation automatically comes down. I mean, you know, all of this. So all of those things for sure.
What are some of the like the really cool or the biggest changes that you've seen in some of your clients?
Yeah, I had one client, and she originally came to me on a weight loss journey, but the biggest shift that I saw in her was when we were working on she was consuming a lot of soda, a lot of tea, sweet teas. So really consuming a lot of sugar unknowingly. And, you know, helping her make the connection to look at a food label and recognize the amount of sugar that she's consuming and how that's not only affecting her weight, but was also affecting her mood, was also affecting her job, because she was having that big, high when she consumed all that sugar, and then the deep crash that came with it. So, in the end, she ended up losing about 30 pounds, which was great. And really only the major change being the sugar that she was looking at. But really, it was more of a mindset shift for her, and being able to see what she could control and what she couldn't control. Whereas before, weight loss seemed uncontrollable to her. She couldn't lose the weight. She couldn't do it. And seeing that shift in her mindset of, this really is in my control, and I can make small, and I'll put easy in parentheses because, limiting your sugar is not easy in today's world. But, limiting her sugar and just seeing the shift that it made for her as well as for her husband, because she, gave that information to him as well, was just, really amazing. And, still connect with her every so often. And, every time she's like, Alexa's still checking still checking those labels, and, limiting, when I'm doing my soda and all of that, and, feeling great, doing great. And yeah, so that was a really positive, kind of started off with weight loss, but, ended up being so much more than that.
Sure. So it was interesting that you said she didn't realize or didn't see how much control she actually had. And I feel like that's a huge hang up for a lot of people with their health, is that, it's, I don't have time, or we're going out to eat, or they're always seeing the situation as I can't do anything about it. But is that something that you really work on with some of your people, is seeing all of the opportunity for what you really can't control?
Yes, absolutely. It's definitely a big focus in my practice is behavioral change. And that's really the crux of being a health coach, at least how I define my scope and how the national board kind of defines their scope, as a health coach, and helping people to see, again, the little shifts they can make that can then compound and have major results in the end, and helping them make kind of that mental connection and helping them get to the aha moment, not telling them the aha moment, because it means so much more when they get to it on their own through kind of questions and self-inquiry, and sometimes I use assessments, or just different tactics that you can work on with clients. And once they start to see, oh, wow, I can really do this, walking for 10 minutes, once a week, is that really going to make a change? And it's like, well, try it and see. And that one time turns into 3 times. And then that, 10 minutes turns into 30 minutes. And then all of a sudden you're at the recommended amount of movement or exercise for a week. And, it's just all about, like you said, just those little shifts and those little mindset updates that we can support our clients in and helping them make those behavioral changes.
Yeah, absolutely. And for sure, I mean, I feel like people underestimate what those little changes really can do and how much
Mhm.
it really does add up. Because you think about it on the other spectrum, is one cookie ever just one cookie? Like it's never, everything compounds, whether it's good or bad,
Right.
or,
Absolutely.
better or desirable, or however you want to say it.
Yeah.
So for people who, either really, really feel like, they just can't manage their stress at this point, or it's something that they don't want to think about, or maybe they're not even recognizing that they are in a stressful state. What are
Mhm.
some of your tips that are just overall good wellness practices that may also help with stress reduction?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think, you know, we we mention this at a high level, but definitely prioritizing sleep is going to be super important, and not just even the amount of time but also the quality of sleep, and really ensuring that you're getting into the different stages of sleep. And I know that's hard to do. You can't be like, okay, get into REM cycle now, but by kind of creating a space where you can get into restful sleep is kind of how you can support yourself in that quality versus just quantity. Moving your body, again, that helps. The one of the physiological responses of stress is sending your blood to your extremities. And so using that energy that's being pushed out to your arms and your legs by moving your body and by exercising is going to help, really flush out some of that adrenaline, some of that cortisol, some of those hormones that are released as part of that stress response. And then one that, not everyone talks about is really breath work. And that can sound a little bit woo woo. And I don't want to come off as woo woo when I say breath work. What I mean by breath work is when a trigger comes about, if you're in a safe space, take 1 minute to just tap into your breath. And that can look like, if you're in an office, stepping into the bathroom and closing your eyes, put your hands on your heart and just connect with your breath. Feel your breath. You don't have to change it. You don't have to okay, slow down the breath. It will inherently slow down when you start to connect with it. And you are able to physically shift your body from a more stressful state into a less stressful state by focusing on your breath, by slowing your breath down. And that is something that's really accessible to everyone. Everyone has access to their breath at any point in time. And so being able to connect and take a moment to step out of the stress trigger, or if you don't have it during, maybe just after, is really something I like to have my clients start to incorporate. Again, because it is just accessible to everyone. Movement is not always accessible, unfortunately. Sleep, if you have a newborn or something like that, maybe not the most accessible at the moment. You don't have the most control over it, but you can always control your breath. And you can always control how you nourish yourself. And nourishing yourself looks like how you can breathe, what you're putting into your body, what you're putting on your body. Those are two things that we can control and we have control over.
Yeah, you can always control the way you breathe. I really like that. And even that you said, it's not so much as, doing this specific technique or spending all its time. It's just like taking a pause and becoming aware.
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly.
I've definitely noticed, interesting side note, like these last couple weeks, like I'm so distracted and so busy, like I realize that I'm breathing super duper shallow. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
I keep like feeling out of breath and like, oh my gosh, I don't feel good. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
I have to mentally remember to actually breathe, which is
Mm-hmm.
seems so weird.
Yes, and full breath, because I think what you're probably noticing is you're probably breathing in your chest, or you're breathing quickly, and that's just because you're busy, you're here. But again, if you take the minute to connect to your breath, you notice, okay, I'm breathing in my chest. Okay, how does it feel if I breathe a little bit deeper? Maybe start from my stomach and then let the breath come all the way up, and then release the breath all the way down. Again, you're inherently slowing your entire body down by doing that.
Yeah. So that's a great kind of segue into your free download that you have for everybody. So tell us about your sleep meditation guide. What does that entail?
Yeah, so the sleep meditation guide is really comes with a few audios, and they give you a little bit of information first and foremost to how you can set up your sleep routine, how you can set up your sleep environment, and then also a short meditation that you can listen to in order to support you falling into a restful night's sleep. So it really gives you both kind of the knowledge to set up your space, to set up your routine, and then also gives you something that you can tap into, either to relax if you're not trying to actually go to sleep at the moment, or to fall asleep to, and just kind of guides you into a restful state.
Nice. So it could be used like in the middle of the day or something if you're like super stressed out and you're going somewhere and you just want to kind of calm yourself.
You may leave a little sleepy, but it will definitely kind of tap you. At least the meditation piece of it will help you, again, kind of lower your cholesterol, lower your heart rate, and be a part of that rest and reset part of the stress cycle.
Nice. Did you say lower your cholesterol?
If I did, I didn't mean to.
Okay.
I meant to say blood pressure. If I said
Perfect. You
cholesterol,
said
I
cholesterol. I was like,
apologize.
wait, what?
No,
What's happening?
I apologize.
That's funny. Yes, lower your blood pressure
Retract.
for
If
sure.
I said cholesterol, I meant blood pressure.
That's so funny. Okay,
Thank
so
you for
what
getting
is
that.
your, yeah, I was like, wait, what? Have I not heard something? So what is your final tips, tidbits, thoughts for our viewers today?
Yes, absolutely. So, you know, I again really come at this as a holistic approach to, in this instance in particular, if we're talking about, gut health, it is going to be super important, obviously, what you eat. But you do also want to look at everything else that, can go into your health, or can be an input into what might be causing you some gut discomfort. And, stress is definitely something that might be a key culprit of that. And we talked through so many great things that can support your stress management, whether that's, adding in some movement into your day, whether that's prioritizing your sleep, tapping into your breath, especially in those acute moments of stress, and nourishing your body from the inside out, really prioritizing whole unprocessed foods, and how you can really best take care of yourself. And that might look a little bit different for each and every person, which is okay. Not everyone's journey has to be the same, but figuring out what works best for you. And that might be through a little bit of, trial and, trying again. I don't want to say trial and error, because it's not an error if you learn from it, but, just figuring out what's going to work best for your body, and then being able to build on that. It's not going to be, one day you figure everything out and then you're good for the rest of your life. It's going to be a continuous journey.
So where can people learn more about you if they want to follow you more?
Yeah, so I am on all of the social medias, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. YouTube, on Instagram and Facebook. You can find me at Alexa, Alexa Hanshaw, Hanshaw. On LinkedIn, you can find me Alexa Hanshaw LLC, nice and easy, spelled the same way, and then just LLC. And then YouTube, my platform is called Be the CEO of Your Stress. And you can find tons of great resources on all of the social media. And then also, if you're interested in working with me or learning a little bit more, you can check out my website, which is www.alexahanshaw, no dot in between, .com. And again, you can see all of the ways we can work together or get some more free information, like we talk through, blog posts, etc. So I would love to see everyone, over in social media or on the website, and just connect and see how we can support each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super interested in your YouTube channel. I love
Yeah.
things to listen to and watch. And well, thank you again. This was really very interesting. And everyone, your homework tonight is to download that audio and get some good sleep. Or at least, listen to it during the day and chill out a little bit. I know I for
Yes.
sure need to do that. So thank you so much and tune in tomorrow for some more awesome gut info.
Yes. Thank you so much. Can't wait to see everyone.